The Supreme Court judgment on the appeal of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal judgment is in. First of all, when a justice begins reading a judgment with a statement, quote, "I am the one that wrote this judgment," unquote. Why did he need to tell us who wrote the judgment? It says a lot. Another thing that wasn't surprising is the acceptance from the lead justice that the deposition from Chicago State University registrar has substance. What does substance mean? It means something that is significant and valid, something of great importance. But like the appeal court, they failed to use an evidence that they accepted that it is significant to determine the forgery of Tinubu's certificate. Again, one justice in his judgment continued hammering on why Atiku failed to obtain a letter from Chicago State University that will expressly disown the certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC. It's common sense that letters can be forged with all the insignia, signature, letterhead, stamp, everything. It was proven by the oral deposition that the records Tinubu submitted to the appeal court during the hearing didn't come from the university. Oral depositions under oath will always be better than written documents. That's why the US court uses that to obtain information, obtain testimony from respondents in courts. One justice even questioned the authenticity of the oral deposition because the seal of the court is not on the document. The lead justice also wondered why Atiku failed to obtain this evidence on time before the hearing at the appeal court. There's no doubt that this is a reasonable position. When Tinubu's records first became public last year, Atiku should have filed for a discovery in the US on time. Anyway, who knows what they would have come up with if he got the evidence on time. There's no way to beat these people. Yes, even if Atiku fulfilled all the conditions by front-loading all the evidence in his petition, they would have still found another technicality to uphold the forgery. The major issue raised in this appeal by the petitioners to the Supreme Court for resolution include substantial non-compliance of the law by INEC. Is it a must for a candidate to score 25% of the votes in Abuja before being declared winner? Atiku's new evidence from Chicago State University that proves Tinubu forged the certificate, and many issues. Before we see them, there's one important thing the lead justice said, that the law sees election results announced by INEC as correct until a petitioner can prove otherwise, which includes showing his own tally of votes in the election. If a petitioner is claiming he won the election, he must show the number of votes he scored in the election, which definitely must be more than the votes scored by the person declared winner. Yes, this is common sense, but the problem here is that the appeal court justices did not go through the evidence submitted by the petitioners. They tendered massive evidence from INEC. These are CTCs that INEC certified. They also tendered their own political party agent copies to prove that their votes were hidden in the more than 18,000 blood copies that INEC certified. They didn't go through all this. They just threw away everything on technicality. So even if they quoted the total votes they scored in the presidential election, would it have mattered to the court, since they already threw away all the evidence that would have proved the vote tally in the first place? On determining the 25% requirement in Abuja, they held that Abuja should be treated as a state in the presidential election. This case has been overflogged. We made many videos about 25%, no need going into details. But this judgment is a travesty of justice because of the wording of the Constitution. Before making this kind of declaration by the justices, the Constitution needs to be amended. They can't amend the Constitution with a judgment. On substantial non-compliance of the law by INEC, they held that the non-upload of results to IREV is not enough to cancel the election. The lead justice also said that INEC's failure to upload the results in real time will affect the confidence of Nigerians in the transparency of the elections going forward. So it's very clear they understand the importance of IREV. The IREV is part of the new innovations introduced in our electoral system to improve transparency. The IREV does not collate results on its own. It is part of a collation system because collation officers are supposed to make reference to uploaded results on IREV before starting collation. Yes, there are other results that can be used if the IREV copies are not available, but the intention of the law is not for collation officers to use other hard copies for collation purposes all the time, everywhere election is held in Nigeria. When you have widespread use of other hard copies without consulting IREV copies to collate results, it defeats the purpose of having IREV in the first place. It's obvious they accept this argument. That's the reason for the new narrative that IREV was set up for Nigerians to view results in real time, not for collation officers to authenticate hard copies. On the issue of proving rigging in election, their decision is a bit contradictory. On one hand, they held that the petitioners should have called their polling unit agents as witnesses. On the other hand, they termed the evidence from the few witnesses they called hearsay, that there was no forensic examination of the evidence. So even if the petitioners called thousands of witnesses, they would have still found a reason to dismiss all their evidence. What this judgment means is that no one will ever be able to prove that the election was rigged in Nigeria. That's the precedent the Supreme Court set. It's practically impossible, and considering the short time to gather all the evidence from all polling units before going to the tribunal, no one can ever prove it. Even the entire police officers in Nigeria cannot gather the evidence in such a record time. That's why the justices shifted the blame to the petitioners, blaming them for the inefficiency of INEC. Imagine a justice questioning why Atiku went to the United States to get evidence in the first place, that he knew that the evidence will not be admitted beforehand. Is that not strange? Yes, the lead justice spent about an hour running around the issue, quoting technicalities, just to justify their dismissal of Atiku's application to admit new evidence. This is despite admitting that the evidence from Chicago State University has substance. And in the end, they failed to uphold justice. They failed to disqualify Tinubu. This is a very bad precedent set by the Supreme Court. Certificate forgery is a constitutional matter. They should have decided the matter based on merit instead of looking for technicalities. They did all they could to find ways to throw the evidence away. The implications of what they did will stay with all of us. Nigerians are now seen as certificate forgers who their credentials must be verified and verified and verified over and over again to make sure that they didn't forge it. Imagine all the people who spent years getting educated only to be humiliated that they forged certificates. When they apply for jobs, people keep questioning their credentials, and it has far-reaching consequences on the economy. No one will invest here because they see Nigeria as a place you can't get justice. You don't expect people to spend money to buy justice when they are on the right. They know they didn't do anything wrong, but they are still expected to buy the justice. No one does that. Investors told this to Tinubu when he went to the US. They told him that you still don't have the micro indices that will support investment. So what will Nigerians benefit? If everyone is thinking of what Nigerians will benefit, we won't be here in the first place. They are obviously working for one man. A man that was once involved in drug trafficking and money laundering in the United States. The Supreme Court justices have delivered judgment. There are winners and losers. The ultimate loser today is Nigeria, not the petitioners. The petitioners have proven the extent of the rot in Nigeria. We are all stuck here. We will all suffer the consequences of the judgment. No one, no matter how highly placed, is immune to happenings in Nigeria. The reason why many people want a Nigeria that works for everyone is to make sure that the son of nobody can become somebody in the future. Is to make sure that hardworking people reap the benefits. Is to make sure that graduates do not need to know anyone in any high office, in any company before they can get employed. Yes, if the system is working perfectly, no one needs to know anyone in order to get employed. Even the people that control things in Nigeria are aware of this. That's why they keep promoting and employing among the same pool of people, among their family members. That's why you see judges pushing their kids to become judges. Nigeria is working for them among the elites. They don't care about poor people. National Assembly members said the main reason they bought brand new Land Cruisers worth 160 million naira was because of bad roads. So imagine people in high places, they are National Assembly members, they are the ones that pass budgets and make the laws. They can't make sure that bad roads are repaired. They can't hold the executive branch responsible for their inefficiency, and they are affected by bad roads. So Nigerians are paying for their inefficiency, the inefficiency of the whole arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive branch. So we are turning around in circles. Who knows what will happen in the next 4 years? The election will be war. They will do anything to win that election, to be declared winner by INEC. Because they know that when you go to court, the court will take their position and support them and uphold illegality. No country makes any headway with this kind of setup. Besides, people won't even come out to vote in the next election cycle. Because why? Why waste your time when you know it won't count? You are busy in the field, struggling to vote, and someone is busy somewhere writing the results. At the end of the day, they will collate whatever they've written, not what came from the field. And you expect people to come out and vote. Many believed what INEC said before the presidential election, that they will upload results in real time. That was why many people trooped out en masse to get registered, and they came out to vote. Yes, people like P2B and others also convinced people to come out and vote. But all this effort went to waste. The courts, instead of taking sides with the people, they chose politicians. Thanks for watching.
Your Excellency, look up more. Your Excellency. Oh, you have just...